All right, welcome to part 2 of our U-joint drawing. Last class we drew our basic shape here, and then we added a couple of countersunk holes. One thing I want to bring to your attention is that we had a free fit through hole on the back for the screw to be inserted through. We can change that to a close fit, and we can see that the diameter of that hole goes from 1695, and if we go back to free fit, it goes to 177 thousandths. These are not just arbitrary numbers that Onshape came up with. These are from our tap drill chart. So we talked about that in class a little bit. Here is the tap drill chart. So we see number 8, diameter number screw 8, and if we head over here, we see our free fit is 177, and we see our close fit is 1695. So just so that you're aware of those numbers and where those came from. All right, so for today, what we want to do is we want to create a hex-shaped pocket in the back here. We're going to extrude that in to the shape. So what we're going to do for when we assemble this U-joint, we're going to 3D print a couple of them and 3D print our swivel. And then we're going to use number 8 machine screws, but they can't go all the way through because then they would collide. You have 2 of them that need to share the same space in the middle. So by putting short screws in here, we can, and putting a nut here that they thread into, the screws will stay in place and they will hold the swivel, and the whole piece will be held together. This isn't how an actual U-joint would be drawn. We're doing this so that we can 3D print it and have a working U-joint. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a new sketch. Say okay to that hole. What did I do there? I did free fit. So I want to make sure that both my holes are free fit. They are. Good. Now I want to go to my sketch. I'm going to go on the right plane. And I'm going to pick my polygon here. I'm going to put that polygon right at the center of our through hole here. I'm going to rotate this so that the polygon snaps so that the top edge of the polygon and this edge are parallel to each other. Okay, and then as I move away from the polygon, you can see that the number changes. That is how many sides our polygon has. So I'm going to move close so I get 6. It's a hex. That's how many sides our hex bolts have on them. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I want a number 8 machine screw to fit into this pocket so that when we thread our machine screw through, it stays in place and it sandwiches it in here. And so to know the size of that nut, I need to use a reference for that. And what I like to use is McMaster Car. So this is a website that sells just about any mechanical item that you can think of. I'm going to go over here to nuts. And then on this thread size over here, I'm going to go to number 8. And then we have, I'm just going to pick this first one here. This is a low strength steel hex nut. And then what I can do is I can look and see what size wrench would be to use to tighten that. So I'm going to click on my product details here, and it tells me that across the 2 flats is 11/32. Okay, I'm going to verify that with a couple, or at least one other nut to make sure that that's it's not a specialty sized one. And so I'm going to look at this other one here. It tells me 11/32 for that as well. So I verified that 11/32 would be the wrench that I would use to tighten an 8/32 nut. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my Onshape drawing. I'm going to put a dimension across, and then I'm going to type in 11/32. Okay, that's point. Let's see here. So that's 0.3438. Okay. shape out of my dimensions. And then what I'm going to do is I don't want this to be an exact fit. I want to make sure when it's 3D printed that we still have some space to allow a nut to fit. So I'm going to give it a clearance. All right, so my size is 3.438. I'm going to add about 5 to 10 thousandths to that to make sure that it works. So 0.3438 to 10,000. So I'm going to do plus 0.01. Okay, so that's went to 3.538, and that should be plenty of space for the nut to fit in there. We don't want it too tight. All right, I'm going to say okay to that sketch. I'm going to highlight the sketch, and I'm going to go over here to my extrude command. Okay, so I'm going to extrude this into the part, but again, I need to know what is the size of a standard number 8 nut. I'm going to go back to McMaster Carr, and this one says it's an 1/8, so 0.125. And again, like I did before, I'm just going to do my due diligence and make sure that I have that's a standard size for that. So 1/8 here. Check this one out. 1/8 there. So 0.125 is the magic number for the thickness of that. So I'm going to put a depth here of 0.125. If you don't know the conversion on that, you could also just do 1/8. Okay. And then I want to change the direction. I want it to go into my part, and I want to remove it. Okay. All right, that looks good. So okay to that. All right, so now what we have is a pocket for a hex nut, and we have a countersink for a number 8 screw. We're going to make this hex hole in the opposite side as well, so we have one there. And one final step to this is we add the shaft connector for it. So if we look at a typical U-joint, it has a shaft coming out, which would be a boss sticking out that would be attached to a shaft so that it could be rotated. So we're going to add that as well. The next thing I want to do is I want to add another plane parallel to my top plane here. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my plane tool. I'm going to offset a plane at 1.5 inches. And say, let's see here, which side did it go? Oh, no, that's down. So I can see that this is the line right here of the new plane. So watch it move. It's down below the top plane. This is above the top plane. I'm going to say okay there. Once I have that plane, I want to draw a circle at the origin of the new plane. So I'm going to go over to my sketch, start sketch 3, and select the new plane as my sketch plane. Grab a circle. If I hover at the center of the new plane, you'll see that the original origin lights up. So I want to click there, draw that out. I'm going to make this 0.375. Enter. Once that is drawn, I'm going to say okay to the sketch, and I'm going to extrude that up. I can pick any distance I want. Let's try 3/4, see how that looks. Again, this is not something that has to be exactly precise because this isn't a mechanical feature going into a part. It's just something we want to be able to 3D print and have it work and show how a U-joint works. So not real picky about how the size and length of that is, but we're going to go to extrude. And I'm going to extrude this up. Let's try 0.75 and see what that looks like. I think that's too far. Do 0.5. We want to add it and say okay. All right, so that is our finished product. The only thing that I didn't do that you will do is add the hex pocket for the other number 8 machine nut, and then we're done. All right, so U-joint and swivel done. What we'll do is we'll 3D print these. So you need to create an STL file. I will share a folder with you on Google Drive for you to share your STL files with me. Please make sure that you are naming your STL file the same way that you're naming your Onshape parts. So it should be U-joint with your last name, and then it will be an STL. Okay, make sure it's a .stl at the end, and put those into Google Drive. All right, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Thanks. Bye.